Today on Locked On Canadiens, a very special Montreal Canadiens Columbus Blue Jackets game preview with the incomparable John Forslund.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to a very special bonus episode of Locked On Canadiens. We want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day and for making us the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Laura Saba, also known as The Active Stick, and I'm not joined today by my wonderful co-host Ian Boisvert, although he would have loved to be here because we had the immense privilege of being able to welcome John Forslund, play-by-play analyst for Prime Monday Night Hockey, for a quick preview of tonight's Montreal Canadiens game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. We were so excited to share this with our listeners, and make sure you wait for it at the end when we ask him which Montreal Canadian he's most excited to cover in the coming years. The Montreal Canadiens face the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight at 7:30 on Prime Monday Night Hockey, available on Prime Video from any device in Canada. And joining me now is John Forslund, who does play-by-play for Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey. John, thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Hey, my pleasure, Laura. Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that we've really loved about the broadcasts so far has been the quality, right? What really sets you apart when it comes to, broadcasting Canadian games?
Well, I think we have an exceptional amount of resources, at our disposal, from our production team, right on through everybody who has a role in the broadcast. And we also have the consistency from week to week, which helps, really aid that you really don't get. So we come to the table with the best look possible, with 36 cameras for the most part. There isn't a situation that we're going to miss within a game. And our mission is to build trust with the Canadian fan base and also build trust with the regional fan bases that we go into, and also make sure that we celebrate the team and the city that we're in that specific Monday. And I think we're delivering on most of that. And then the rest of it is basically up to the game itself. We feed off the game, and we've been blessed with some exceptional Monday night games over the last season, last year, and what we've been into so far this year. So it's been great to be part of it. I look forward to every Monday night, and tonight's no exception.
So what response have you been seeing on location when you go to these cities?
Well, I think our reputation, despite some of us in the group, I think it's working out okay. I think there's an energy when we meet with the coaches. I think that's the first feel that we get. They understand that we're on site for the game, and then we also, with the players, I think they're taking note of the Coast to Coast show that's on Thursday night. They're taking note of the documentaries that have been done, the Face Off series, which has been remarkable, kind of presenting them as players in the best light possible and in a way that fans can latch on to and see little touch points along the way that make them even more exciting than what they do on the ice. So that's really good too. So I think that's how we feel when we go to each building each week. It makes us as broadcasters excited, and also something that we appreciate that we're getting back as feedback. And for the most part, the fans have been great. The media has treated us with respect. And I think they were cautious at the beginning. I think that's natural, kind of being a brand new deal with some new faces in different roles. But we have an exceptional producer, Mark Askin, who's is the best in the business, I feel, and he does a great job laying out each and every Monday for us to make sure that we deliver the excitement of the game.
And from a fan perspective, I can't say it does bring us closer to the game, right? You guys really do a great job of bringing us really into the game. More with John coming up in just a moment. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queue, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. And that's where Game Time comes in. The app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. We here at Locked On Canadiens love Game Time. We use Game Time whenever we want to go to games. In fact, my co-host is coming up to Montreal for his first NHL game at the Bell Center, and we use Game Time to get tickets. Why? Because you can see the view from your seat before you purchase. We love that there's no hidden fees at checkout. They have zone deals. You can pick the section and Game Time will pick your seats, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I want to really focus on the Canadiens now because you got a chance to watch a lot of Canadiens last season, and in the early going, we're not even at the quarter mark yet for the Canadiens, and you've seen a lot of them so far this season. Do you see a big difference between the team that they were icing last year and the one that they iced this year?
And we're going to find out as we move forward through this pocket of time. And the reason I bring that up is they are an exciting, young, great team to watch. I find them, exciting to watch every time I sit down or if I do cover them. And they've had tremendous success, and they've gotten off, as you know, to this great start. Now with some injuries and a power play that's dried up a little bit here, goaltending that could be better. Okay, now as a young team, how do they handle this? And Marty St. Louis, how does he get to the core of these guys to make sure that they don't get broken down, they don't lose their confidence, they have enough energy to play this high-tempo game every night? And in this season with the schedule, as you know, right, the schedule is compressed because of the Olympics. The games are coming in rapid fashion. It's two things happen to every team around the league, a wave of injuries. And if you have anything negative in your team game, how do you exercise it out? How do you get back to who you were? It's easier said than done. Because it could be on consecutive nights, it could be after a day off, but it's coming basically every other day. And that's why the teams, you look at Colorado, yes, they have exceptional talent, but the way they're playing right now, they're like, bring it on, bring on the next game. And then when you look at the Habs and where they're at like tonight, they need a pocket of time to maybe recuperate. I think that's why he's resting players. They didn't skate this morning. He wants maximum energy tonight. Then they don't play again till Thursday. Well, he's probably, I don't know their entire schedule, but this is probably the only time this year he'll have a pocket of time like this to either practice or rest. And it's vital.
Yeah, you're right, because up until December, there's very little time to practice. We were looking at the schedule and we were asking ourselves, when are they going to be able to even practice this power play or try to do new things?
Right.
So this is the only pocket of time they have. And I think it's really important to end before that couple of days off on a really high note. So what challenge do you think Columbus is going to present for them tonight?
Well, Columbus can move too. They play with high pace. They work hard. They have balance throughout their lineup. They have a couple players like Kirill Marchenko and the line centered by Adam Fantilli really playing well right now, with Dmitry Voronkov going into the front of the net where he scores most of his goals. So defensively, this is going to be interesting for the Canadiens to handle that aspect of it. I can tell you that Columbus is very cognizant of the team speed that the Canadiens bring. They want to make sure they're able to kind of match that defensively. That will be interesting. And then in goal, they're riding the coattails of Jet Greaves, who will start his 5th consecutive game tonight, which is it's a back-to-back for Columbus. They're in Winnipeg tomorrow. So Elvis Merzlikins will play tomorrow. That's probably how this is going to shake out. But it's unusual to see a goalie like Jet Greaves, who's been a support goalie throughout his career, and a guy that's coming up, get consecutive starts like this over Merzlikins. I don't think they're very happy with Merzlikins' play. So here we go. And then you have Jakub Dobiš, who goes tonight for the Canadiens. And to me, that's, and as an older guy, Laura, I can, I've seen hockey change a lot over the tenure of my career, but goaltending has never changed, right? It's very simple. You need someone to stop it. You need someone to really support the lineup tonight. And for Dobish coming back to Columbus, where he played his college hockey, this will be an interesting story to unfold tonight.
It's a really exciting time, I think, for Montreal Canadiens, despite the injuries, because now we get to see, how do they deal with that, right? Like, how do they, live up to it, or how do they try to advance their rebuild in spite of these key injuries that they've had? But what I think is really interesting is that you get to cover a lot of Canadian teams now on Monday nights. There's been such a mix with the Canadian teams. Some of them are overperforming, some of them are underperforming. But a common theme, I think, is that a lot of them are young and up and coming. And do you think that, now is a great time in hockey to be a rebuilding team? Because as a Canadiens fan, all we look at is, these are teams that are competing with the Montreal Canadiens for the trade pieces that are going to be available, or for the wild card spot that's being available. So do you feel like, you've covered hockey, you have a storied career, and so you've covered hockey for a long time. Like, do you think this is like a really good time to get into hockey and get into these young and exciting teams?
Yeah, I do, because these young and exciting players can come in and play and make a difference. And when I look at the scoring leaders, yes, you have the incumbents and the McDavids and McKinnons and Draisaitl and so on, but you also now have Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini. You got Cole Caulfield. You got Nick Suzuki, who I love to watch, who I think is a sensational 3-zone player and a young leader. And he's got a lot of burden of responsibility. You're the captain of the Montreal Canadiens. You can't change that. That comes with a different mindset. It seems like he can embrace that. So I think we're in a great spot. It's my job always to promote hockey and to promote it from a standpoint of where we're at and where we're going. But this is a great time to be a fan.
I think so. And just speaking of Nick Suzuki, like, I think for me, I always turn around and I say how lucky we were here in Montreal that he was the trade piece that came back from Vegas, because I know there was a lot of conversations about other things. And so if there's one player on the Montreal Canadiens whose trajectory you're excited to cover in the coming years, like who's the first person you think of?
I think of Lane Hudson. I think of all the guys and all the young kids that they have, but Hudson to me can take a game and change it like that, right? And I really enjoy being at Bell Center when Lane Hudson gets the puck, but it seems like 20,000 people hold their breath and then expel their breath and hold it again, and he's that kind of player. So there have always been great players in the National Hockey League, and then there's these exceptional players who have a handle on the game and can take it over. And he's one of those guys for me. And, last week we had Connor McDavid do that against Columbus, in the third period with his team down. And he's a player that says, okay, I can do this almost single-handedly, because our game is not for a single-handed approach. It really is a team game. And so these players are exceptional.
They are. I want to thank you so much for your time, John. We really appreciate it.
Laura, thanks for having me. Don't be a stranger anytime.
I once again want to thank John for his time. That was such a great chat. It was so nice of him to make time for us when all the media is traveling to get to Columbus for tonight's game. And I really, really appreciated his insight. He's got such a storied career. Once again, you can catch the Canadiens game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Prime Monday Night Hockey, available on Prime Video from any device in Canada. I want to thank you all for listening. I want to make sure that you know where to find us, so you can subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And you can find us at Locked On Canadiens on Bluesky, on TikTok, and on Instagram. We'll be back tomorrow with a recap of tonight's game.